I am Finn Wilson and I have written the Illustrated Guide to Pedagogy, a toolkit for research-informed teaching. The reason that I wrote this book is that as a director of Impact Wales, with my colleague Jane, we're out in schools a lot. We're working with schools, we're working with teachers to help them improve their practice, to help them improve their teaching. And quite often schools will have decided that they need to implement a change, and it might be retrieval practice or it might be a better way of questioning. And the reason that often these strategies don't have the desired effect is because teachers don't fully understand why they're doing it. So this is why I've written this book, is to help teachers to really understand what is at the heart of good teaching and learning. And what's at the heart of it is the research on how learning happens. So understanding fully what the foundations of learning are allows teachers then, in the moment, in that hot, complex environment of the classroom, to make really good, well-informed decisions. So the book is aimed at anybody who's involved with teaching, education more generally. We're talking student teachers, newly qualified teachers, teachers who have taught in the classroom for a number of years, leaders, middle leaders, senior leaders who work in education, and also those people who support teachers to improve, because this book is about the principles of what teaching actually is, what learning actually is, based on what we know about the research about learning. So there are 14 principles in the book of effective learning, and they're based on the research. For example, one of the first principles is about the fact that we all learn in exactly the same way. And that isn't something, surprisingly, that many teachers actually accept, is that we all learn in the same way. I've seen so many government documents or presentations when teachers or leaders will talk about, it depends on how you learn. No, we all learn in exactly the same way, using the same cognitive processes. Another principle of the book is that the working memory is very limited, and therefore you have to manage those limitations in the way in which you teach. So these principles allow teachers to understand why they might choose one strategy, one approach over another. They also help teachers to understand, for example, why one approach is appropriate at a certain point in a lesson but not at another, or why it's appropriate for a certain pupil but not for another pupil. So having an understanding of the foundations of how teaching and learning happens allows teachers that understanding then of choice in terms of their own teaching practice. I hope the impact of this book is that we all have a shared understanding of what's important in teaching and learning, in a way not that focuses on the research itself, but that takes that research in a very practical way into your classroom. It will allow you, if you read this book, not just to understand that research, to make sense of it in terms of your own teaching, but actually it walks you through strategies, tasks, deliberate practice, inquiries, reflective questions. It's illustrated throughout with sketch notes that use text and visuals. So it's very much more a step-by-step process that helps you and your colleagues to actually put these things into practice and try them out and actually perfect them for yourself. If you're interested in how teaching and learning works, and you want to know what the foundations are, the principles of really effective teaching, but you don't have time to sit there reading a very academic book and then trying to make sense of that for your own practice, then this book is for you. Because what it does, it walks you through the kinds of things that you need to think about, the questions that you need to ask yourself. It gives you tasks to carry out in your own classroom, strategies that you can trial, and evaluation questions that you can use to reflect on what you've done and whether it's worked for you or not. So this is a very practical, step-by-step guide to improve your teaching in your classroom.